We have got to have faith in the people that are making decisions on our behalf. We have more faith when we know that standards are there and there is a redress mechanism if things go wrong.
It is essential to local government and indeed to public authorities generally that they command the trust and confidence of the public.
Effective governance requires effective standards. The way, the behaviours of members and officers, how they relate to each other, how they relate to their communities, to the electorate, and to those in which the authority works, absolutely essential.
This was, in my view, a very strong shortlist of authorities, many of whom had changed dramatically in the course of the last few years. I'd seen them when I was local government minister, some of them as quite threatened authorities with serious problems, and it was really impressive to see how they were changing the culture and trying to do better in a whole range of different ways.
The biggest thing for me was the leadership that they demonstrated. So many of them showed that it wasn't just one person, a monitoring officer working quietly. They had really managed to engage the leader. You saw them coming together in a team to make a difference to standards, and I thought that was enormously impressive.
We saw a number of examples of good practice from authorities of very different size, very different capacity.
One of our shortlisted authorities had produced a really interesting induction pack for new members as they came to the authority, but they'd also managed to follow that through with some quite engaging, quite exciting training, not the dry stuff one might expect. And it was all about empowering members to do their job well.
I think the biggest lesson I learned from this process was that more needs to be done in terms of engaging the public, making members of the public more aware of what is going on in the local authority to raise standards and to ensure that the authority is operating in the most effective way.
All authorities have to continually review and refresh their approach, recommit, and really apply common sense approaches, testing that behaviour all the time is compliant with good standards, and that the relationships which the authority has with its partners in the private sector, the third sector, other parts of the public sector, are also underpinned and guided by good standards.
Rossendale was an authority which had been in serious difficulties a few years ago, and what is impressive is the way the authority has committed itself to change. It's not just to deal with the failings that were there, but to embed a culture of high standards and high performance. It was very impressive.
Rossendale Council demonstrated a real commitment to the application of standards from the political leadership and from the managerial leadership. Very much part of the DNA of the organisation, that was very clear. They had, in an innovative way, looked at how they can apply those standards and test those standards when the council is working with other parts of the public sector, with the private sector and with third sector organisations, which authorities are increasingly doing.
They thought quite carefully about how to make it as strong as possible. They had a really clear strapline, serious about standards. They had it well publicised and they followed it through. So I think it was very well thought out, very determined, and it certainly delivered.